Hi, welcome to our next episode of the Online Progressive Summit. I hope you learned something meeting the candidates who we showed you before, and that this will continue to be a process that is of great interest to you as you meet candidates throughout the country standing on strong progressive values. These people can get elected, but they need our support. They need our support in their primaries, where so often they're running against the more corporate-backed candidates, and of course they will need support in their elections. A political revolution isn't something we can kind of sort of sometimes do when it's convenient. If we really want a progressive change in the United States, we have to work for it. And it's fun, not just with the money that we send, doing what we can in that area, but on your Facebook, on your social media, calling your friends, doing what you can, volunteering, and making it happen. I hope you enjoyed this evening. Okay, I'm excited about this one. We're talking about California District 46. I want to introduce you to the first Vietnamese American mayor of a large American city, and that is Garden Grove, California. I want to introduce you to Mayor Bao Nguyen. Like I told you, he's running California 46. He's already endorsed Bernie Sanders, so you know where his heart lies. But it's not just his politics that are so fascinating. First of all, Mayor, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
I'm not only so fascinated because you were born at a refugee camp in Thailand, a Doctors Without Borders clinic, but I think a lot of people watching the summit would also be very interested to know that in addition to your Bachelor of Arts in Political Science at the University of California, you have a master's degree in Indo-Tibetan Buddhist Studies from Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. How cool is that?
That's right. Yeah, that's been a very important part of shaping my politics and my views on our world today.
I'd like to hear more about that. In what way?
You know, I think when we talk about change, it's really important that we see how we ourselves can change and the impact that that has upon our world.
And then how does that lead you to the particular politics that you stand for? I know you're strong on public education, holding government accountable, protecting and strengthening Social Security, immigration reform. Tell me a little bit. Where's the connection for you between this internal transformation and those kinds of changes happening in our political realm?
Well, it's about compassion, and compassion is about understanding. And understanding starts with oneself. And when we're able to see how far we've come or how we suffer in our day-to-day lives, and that really allows us to connect to those that suffer around us and wanting to help.
You know, I agree with you 100%, but so many people say, coming from the same kind of spiritual background that you come from, and in many ways I come from, a lot of people who stand for those values then say, stay away from politics, but I certainly share your sense and your vision that people who understand that and stand for that are the last people who should be sitting out the political process.
Yes, hopefully so.
Yeah, hopefully. We've got to make that. That's why we need to get you into Congress. Now, yours is an open seat that you're running for, correct?
That's correct.
Loretta Sanchez is running for Senate. You have an open seat now. How's it going for you so far?
You know, I'm running against two centrist Democrats here in this race, and in California it is an open primary, so it's anybody's game, and we have a clear path to victory. This is a district where I grew up in. I've done a lot of work in. I've been a community organizer in this district, as well as a teacher and a union organizer and mayor of the city of Garden Grove.
So when is the primary? When is your primary?
June 7th, 2016.
You know, this is one of those seats, and this is why the summit is so important, because a lot of people, first of all, one of the things that we talk about a lot here is that so many progressives are interested in the, hot and sexy presidential race, but Congress is so important. But it's not only about getting Democrats in Congress, it's about getting progressives during these primaries when you have these more corporate-type Democrats who are running. So your race is so important. What do you think is going to happen this year? What's your sense of the electorate? What's your sense of what's unfolding in America? And what's your sense of the part that you do play and can play in this unfolding drama?
I think people are pretty fed up with the establishment politics that controls Washington, and really it controls all levels of our government. and it makes government detached from the people. As a community organizer, as someone who served on the school board, and as mayor, I've led and organized people to make sure that our voices are heard in government, that our interests are heard and represented, and not just those of the big money interests.
What about getting the money out of politics? What do you think?
I think it's important to get money out of politics. Right now, our government should be accountable to all of the people and not to the billionaire class that's currently controlling Washington and really at all levels of government.
Different ideas of strategies how to achieve that goal. What do you think? Constitutional amendment? How do you see that unfolding?
Absolutely. I would definitely support a constitutional amendment to make sure that we overturn Citizens United. That's something that can help re-energize our democracy for the people and really engaging people at all levels of politics.
And I assume that your endorsement of Senator Sanders is because you feel that that enthusiasm and that passion that's coming up from the grassroots, that's really what we need to do here, right? Take that enthusiasm and turn it into an explosion of support and power and excitement regarding these congressional elections as well as the presidential, correct?
You know, Marianne, it's not just about the enthusiasm, it's about how it's impacting real families and young people who right now are leaving college or don't even have an opportunity to go to college because of the huge amount of debt that they have or have waiting for them. It's hard for young people to start families, to have kids. It's not that millennials don't want to have kids or get married and own a home. It's that it's so challenging for us with the huge amount of debt and the lack of opportunities and jobs available in our country today due to the rigged political system and the rigged economic system that we have.
And it's not even just that they would like to own a home or that they would like to have a family. They'd also like to get into the free market. They wish that they had that $2,500 in discretionary income so that they could start their own business, could start their own website so they could get into the game, right?
That's right. That's absolutely right. You know, yes. We're very creative people. You know, our public education system needs a lot of investment, you know, and I think it's really hard for folks when we have to look at, you know, being creative, following our passion, and then just, you know, getting by. I think that's the challenge for young people and a lot of creative people in today's economy.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Martin Luther King said, if they give it to the poor, they call it a handout. If they give it to the rich, they call it a subsidy.
Oh, that's a shame, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, Mayor Bao Nguyen, I hope that you win your race. Your website is BAO 2016, BAO2016.com. Your primary date is June 7th. You're running in your primary against more corporate-centered Democrats, so we really need those progressives in there. And people can go to the Blue America site and that we have here so they can see how we can support you. And I will be doing everything I can. All of us will. I hope you make it in your race.
Thank you so much, Marianne Williamson. You know, it's been a pleasure to speak with you today, and I do hope that everybody watching today will come onto my website, bal2016.com, and support me. We'll elect the first immigrant LGBT member, progressive, first Vietnamese American, you know, Democrat into the U.S. Congress.
I bet it's also the first graduate of Naropa.
That's right. It will be the first graduate of Naropa University.
Okay, which to me is as big a deal. God bless you, sir. Have a great one. Thank you. Okay, everybody, I'm really excited about this one. I want to introduce you to Pramila Jayapal, and she is running in Washington's 7th District. This is a seat that is being vacated by Jim McDermott. Most progressives know about Jim McDermott. This is an important seat. A Democrat's going to win, but we've got a primary going on here, and this candidate, Pramila Jayapal, is the progressive in the race. She deserves so much support from us, and I hope that today we will be able to give it to her. Her background is so interesting, I want to read it to you. She's an Indian American activist and politician. She's represented the 37th Legislative District in the Washington State Senate since January of 15. Before her election, she was a Seattle-based civil rights activist, serving until 2012 as the founder and executive director of One America, a pro-immigration advocacy group. She also founded Hate Free Zone after the September 11 attacks, an advocacy group for Arab, Muslim, and South Asian Americans targeted in the wake of the attacks. She was born in India, but she was raised in Indonesia and Singapore. She came to the United States in '82 at age 16 to attend college. She got her BA from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. She got her MA from Northwestern, and she became a U.S. citizen in the year 2000. I mean, is this exciting? Is this an example of really representing America and America at its best, or what? Pramila Jayapal, I'm so happy to meet you and welcome to the summit. I'm just thrilled to introduce you to everybody who's watching.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Such an honor to be with you, and I'm really excited to be running for this seat and really bringing all of that civil rights movement building, progressive change experience, hopefully, to the Washington 7th.
You know, Pramila, one of the things that is an interesting theme in my mind is the fact that it seems like among conservatives, there's a transition from activist to candidate more than there is among progressives. You have such a great background, but a lot of people with the kind of background that you have, with the hate-free zone, working with immigrants, working on these civil rights issues, don't become candidates. So I'm fascinated, and I think I'm particularly fascinated because you're a woman. What was that psychological process for you that led you from activism to candidacy and to leadership? Already, you are in the state legislature already, obviously.
Yeah, no, it really was a big decision, actually, because for 25 years I've been an activist on the outside, organizing, building movements, starting Hate-Free Zone, which later became One America, building that to the largest immigrant advocacy organization in the state. But what I realized back in about 2005 or 2006 was that, we really needed to be much, much more engaged in the politics, the hard politics of what's going on. So we started with voter registration, registered over 23,000 new immigrant citizens to vote, largest voter registration drive in the history of the state. But still continuing on, I finally decided to get into actually running for office because we are ceding too much space. As progressive organizers, we are ceding way too much space on the political side. We need to be electing movement advocates, movement electeds into office so that we can start to organize on the inside and make that connection between the inside and the outside, really make democracy and government real for people. And so I decided to run for the state senate, and it's been an amazing opportunity to see how much we can do if more of us movement candidates start to get elected, start to run for office, and actually go on the inside to try to see how we can organize and shake things up on the inside. Because, there are a lot of people that'll take good progressive votes in this district in particular. It is a democratic, safe democratic district. But the question is not, can you take a progressive vote? I think that is too low of a bar that we set for our elected officials. But can you actually fight and build a movement to move and create the political space that you need in order to pass the change that you want to pass?
If I could just yell hallelujah. You articulated so perfectly something that I think is so important for more progressives to understand, that we need progressive activists inside the government working for these issues that so many people are already working for outside, but so many people have become so cynical about the political process, and that's why we need more than a cultural movement. We need a political revolution at this time.
Right.
What would you do with the power given you as a U.S. Congresswoman? What are the issues that you feel most strongly about, and how do you feel that you could affect some changes?
Well, the top issues for me, and they mirror a lot of the issues I've been working on for my whole life. You mentioned sort of the American dream story that I've had, and I've really spent my life trying to create an American dream for other people because it's disappearing far too quickly. So income inequality, and specifically raising the minimum wage. I was on the committee that helped raise the minimum wage in Seattle to 15. It was a huge deal here. Introduced a statewide minimum wage bill on my third day in the state Senate. I believe we should be raising the minimum wage, getting rid of tipped wages, making sure that we're really paying people a wage that allows them to live with dignity. Same thing with paid safe and sick days, gender equity pay. Those are all pieces of how do you live day to day in a way that's dignified and that your work is respected. So that's issue number one for me. Number two, I really believe that we have to invest in our young people and those who are aging. So that's 2 and 3, really. 2 is how do we make sure that young people are not getting turned off of going to higher education, but actually get to have debt-free college, that we are saying to them, look, we are investing in you today so that you can come back and invest in the society in the future, and you should not be burdened with mountains of debt that chain you, make it impossible really for you to live your life. Same thing with our elders. You know, Social Security and Medicare are two of the greatest programs we've had in the United States, because they say, if you invest in we, you invest in me, right? I will take care of you as you're getting older, our collective together, and then you take care of me as I'm getting older. And we should not be talking about cutting Social Security and Medicare. We should be talking about expanding it through things like scrapping the cap and other really important ideas that allow us to be completely solvent. There's no solvency issue here. There's a political will issue here. So expanding Social Security and Medicare, and then finally climate. You know, really creating a clean jobs economy and preserving our climate for the next generation.
So when you talk about debt-free college, are you more along the line of what Hillary Clinton is talking about, or more on the side of what Bernie Sanders is talking about? I don't want to put you on the spot here about endorsing, but which plan do you support?
I think we should not have, we should be allowing people to go to college for free. So it's not about, you know, that's, and the bill I introduced in the state Senate this year was for free community college for everybody. We called it the Washington Promise. If anybody who doesn't have a higher education degree and wants to go and get it, so not just kids coming out of school, but we've got an older generation that also hasn't had the opportunities that they should have had. So my plan would have provided free community college for 2 years for everybody in the state. And you know what? It probably would have cost us a mere $95 to $120 million, which in my mind is a drop in the bucket compared to the investment that we get back.
You know, it's really a numbers game, isn't it? We just need more people. One of the things we see on the summit, more and more people who are basically echoing everything that you're saying. We just need more of those people in Congress.
That's right. That's right. And more of us who I think represent the diversity that is our environment. You know, I'm the only woman of color here in the state Senate. And I think I would be one of very few immigrants, people actually born outside who have immigrated to the United States. If I made it to Congress, I'd be the first South Asian American woman ever in Congress. But all of those things, I think, are part and parcel of what we bring through our experiences and our lived experiences of the realities of so many people on the ground. And I hope to be able to inspire a lot more young women of color, a lot more women to, a lot more activists to really be engaged in democracy. You know, I'm really proud to have endorsed Bernie Sanders.
You have endorsed Bernie Sanders?
I have endorsed Bernie Sanders, and
I even love you more.
I'm the only one in the race who has. You know, there's 6 people running, and I'm the only one out of the 6 of us that's endorsed Bernie. And I did that because I think Bernie is really speaking truth to power about the systems and the systematic failures that we have, that we must change, that keep everything rigged for the 1% and not the 99%. And I'm a fighter. I take on issues long before they're popular. And, you know, I took on the civil liberties abuses of the government post 9/11, and I believe that this is another place where we really have to stand up together collectively and say, you know what, the systems are not functioning the way that they should in order for the regular working class, middle class person to be able to live a decent life.
An extremely important point. It's not just this issue and that issue. It's that the entire system has now been harnessed for the purposes of increasing short-term economic gain for multinational corporate forces, period. Sort of end of story. So that, as we now know, we're not really functioning as a democracy. We are functioning as an oligarchy. And we need to do more than lessen the pain that people are experiencing because they're at the effect of this. We have to challenge the forces that make all this suffering inevitable.
That's right. It's the underlying roots are bad. You know, you can, if you have a dead tree, you can cut off the branches. It's really not going to make a difference. You actually have to water the roots. You've got to tend to that earth and that soil, and you've got to completely fix the, you know, what's underneath. Because I really believe that at the core, what we need to do is operate from a place of generosity and abundance rather than scarcity and fear. And if you look at what Donald Trump is saying and what Ted Cruz is saying and what many of the Republicans are saying, it's be afraid. Be afraid of people who are not like you. Be afraid of the Muslims. Be afraid of the Syrian refugees. Be afraid of the immigrants. Be afraid of, you know, poor people. And I believe that actually the great beauty of the human life is that we are very similar in spite of all of our differences. We come from the same core. So I try to bring that into my activism and into my politics, and I even bring it onto the Senate floor. I think I was the first person that read a Rumi poem on the Senate floor.
Well, what could be more? Nothing would make me happier than to think you can read a Rumi poem on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. And if it's on C-SPAN, I will be applauding, and I know a lot of people. And tell me, how is the race going, Pramila?
It's going really well. We're so excited with the momentum. In fact, last week we rolled out a whole slew of wonderful environmental organizations and individuals who endorsed me. So Bill McKibben has endorsed me. Friends of the Earth has endorsed me. Paul Hawken, Nina Simons from Bioneers. Really wonderful group of people. Phil Radford from Greenpeace. So we're feeling very excited about that. This week we'll be rolling out our first slate of 5 early labor union endorsements. So excited to have workers with me that know I've been fighting in the streets and on the picket lines and at the bargaining tables with them for 25 years. And so we're feeling a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement.
Pramila, all my very best to you. Any other final words that you'd like to give to our audience, just so that they can know even one more layer of who you are and what you stand for?
Just a huge shout out to you. I mean, really, just a huge shout out to you and the Progressive Summit. I think this is how we create change. We create democracy one at a time. We build it one person by one person. And so hopefully there are lots of people out there that are helping us build our democracy. Thank you for everything you do and for all this inspiration you've given to me and others over the years.
Thank you. God bless you. I'm really glad to introduce you to one of the most progressive members of the House of Representatives. I think it's sometimes progressives underestimate how much serious progressive force and power there already is in the U.S. Congress. But, we don't have a parliamentary system. We have a winner-take-all. So when they don't have the numbers, that makes all the difference. That's why we need to elect more progressives into the House, more progressives into the Senate. But that also means paying very much attention, really supporting, focusing on being part of the movement that is already happening. And so I'm very happy to introduce you to Congressman Mark Pocan from Madison, Wisconsin, who is considered on anybody's list one of the very most progressive members of the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Let's go down just a little bit. You are the vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. You are also you started the Congressional LGBT Equality Caucus.
One of the co-chairs. I think it was started actually before I got to Congress, but very glad to be a part of that.
Yes, and you're also part of a larger social movement. You are openly gay and married and in the House, and I think that's great. Part of really demonstrating for everybody a kind of new world regarding that. Now, Congressman, you are running unopposed in your primary, and so our work with you has to do, number one, with making sure people know that you exist and that people like you do exist. I know that you're also very active in trying to get other progressives to run around the country. So I think more than anything, in this interview, I want to hear from you. What do you need progressives around the country to know? What do we need to know to be of support? Our goal is to turn on, one of the themes we keep talking about here is that the presidency, we need to remember, is just one co-equal branch of the U.S. government. And I think sometimes, Congressman, that progressives focus on the hot and sexy presidential campaign, which they are doing, which we are doing, obviously. But we need to remember how important Congress is. So from you, I'd like to hear, what do we need to know? You tell us, as a progressive congressman, what do all these millions of progressives out there need to know about the work that you're doing and how we can help?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, progressive values are mainstream values, right? The things that we support, trying to improve people's wages, trying to make sure people have access to health care, we have environmental protections in place, go up and down the list. The public agrees with the progressive viewpoint, and as we try to have more progressives in Congress, our goal is to try to make sure that we can make that the mainstream view especially among the Democrats in Congress. So the Progressive Caucus is the largest values-based caucus in Congress, 72 members. And we really are trying to make sure that we can elect more people who share those values, who can articulate those values on the floors of Congress, who can articulate them in the various committees, and who can ultimately be in leadership and really be making those very important decisions, because we know that we're standing with the public and they're standing with us, and making sure that you have the backs of Congress while there is all the busyness of a presidential race that gets the vast majority of attention. We are a co-equal branch of government. We are able to influence public policy, and I've seen concrete examples of things that policies progressives have put out there that within usually a couple years become mainstream in the rest of the Democratic Party, and eventually mainstream enough that we can get them passed in the country. We just need to elect more people who can start those values and put them out there.
Tell me about the work of the Progressive Caucus. You are vice chair of the Progressive Caucus. Now, isn't that the largest caucus in Congress?
Yeah, it's the largest values-based caucus.
Mm-hmm.
So, while they're among the Democrats, we have the New Dems, which are the corporate-leaning Democrats, and we have the Blue Dems, which are the folks that just make it across the line into the Democratic Party. The progressives are
why bother?
The progressives are the ones really that are initiating the ideas. And what we do, we have a great caucus, and we really are putting out some of the very innovative ideas that now people are talking about. So things like raising the minimum wage. We're the ones who requested the president do an executive order so that federal contractors did that. When you get federal contractors on something, that's 22 to 24% of the economy. You can have ripple effects throughout the economy. We initiated the proposal around debt-free college. One of the very first ideas, working with Demos, to talk about how we can change this ever-increasing amounts of student debt. They've quadrupled in the last 11 years.
What is the central issue there? What is the linchpin of your plan that would create debt-free college? Does it have to do with the banks?
Yeah, the linchpin is essentially to make sure if states do maintenance of effort, continue to support their colleges, not cut back, like unfortunately my state of Wisconsin with Scott Walker has, they would be able to get new federal funds that essentially would provide work-study jobs for students in state schools. And by doing that, anyone can do with 10 hours a week of working at a campus environment, they should be able to leave a 4-year program with absolutely zero debt, zero borrowing. And when you start looking at the increase that's out there, it really is a proposal that is very modest in the dollars up front, but can make sure that no one is barred from getting a higher education simply because they can't afford it. If you're smart enough and capable enough, you have that ability.
Yes.
In Wisconsin, great public university system. Average student is leaving with $26,000 in debt. If you can have zero in debt, that's a significant, real change. Now, you could say they wouldn't have to work 10 hours a week and have free college, but the price tag is significant, and in this Congress, simply impossible to do, and even in a Congress that might look a little different than that. So I think they're all important that we have the various ideas out there, but we're leading out that edge so that we can gain support on these ideas, and I think that's the real success is that we've been able to point to. We had asked the president for executive orders around minimum wage, and he did that with federal contractors. Now, I would much rather just pass a minimum wage increase at that $15 level that we all want.
Right.
But at least getting that done, make 22 to 24% of the economy have to have an increased level, which then helps stimulate that throughout the rest of the economy. And the bottom line is I think that is a way with the current environment we have that we can advance really progressive policy by being creative and smart.
Yes, and I respect that, Congressman. I honor that, and I thank you. I just think it's really important that progressives really understand that conversation, that yin and yang, because you are an actual congressman. You were there to actually try to get things done. So I think it's really important that progressives understand what you just said, as well as what I just said, actually, that both are important, but that we hold to the vision, but you're in there actually trying to get things done. I really honor that and respect that. And you're right, if there's no debt whatsoever. Sounds good. I got it. I got it. What do we have an issue here with? It somehow seems to me there's more of a conversion rate among conservatives from passionate conservative to conservative candidate, and sometimes it's not. We need a greater conversion rate on our side from passionate progressive to passionate. To passionate candidate. Now, I'll give you, and I know you're out there trying to get people. Let me tell you just what my thought is, my experience, and I'd love to hear you on this. Even though Republicans have the more obviously elitist policies, we could say. Sometimes it seems to me, Congressman, like they actually have a more egalitarian relationship with their own constituency. The Democratic Party is the opposite. It's that there is a obviously more egalitarian policies, but almost a more elitist relationship with their constituency, mainly because the Democratic establishment is so held in the hands of those corporate Democrats. I think that this is a lot of juice is leaking out of your progressive base because of this. What can you do to fix this, Congressman?
Well, and that's part of what when we try to find progressives to run, that's the very thing we're trying to explain to people. The public agrees with us on these ideas. We don't have to soft sell what we're talking about because
Right.
we've got that. We have the people and we have the ideas. What we generally don't have is the money. But that shouldn't deter anyone from running. And I think, you're right. One real lesson that people should be learning out of this presidential race is that in general, everyone hates Washington. Rightfully so. I'm not a big fan of Washington. And we have to learn that, people out there who sit at a kitchen table and try to figure out how they're going to send their kid to college and how they're going to take a vacation that year are concerned about their wages. And when they watch all the spoils of the economy coming back, going to the top 1 or 2%, they're rightfully so mad. And I think you see almost a cross appeal a lot of the Bernie Sanders support and some of the Trump support, people who might be Republicans but populists, also understand that message. So we can really appeal to a very broad audience, much more than just progressives, but real people care about the core issues that progressives talk about, and we can have much broader reach that you don't necessarily have to have big amounts of money. If you talk honestly and authentically with people and talk about the issues they care about, which I think right now the biggest issue really is their wages that have been so very dead flat,
Right.
I think we can have successes and reach out to a whole lot of other types of voters, some of the very same people who might be supporting Donald Trump right now.
Okay. Well, a lot of people, when they think of congresspeople, it's almost like they're not real human beings. And so you saw it here, everybody. This is Congressman Mark Pocan, who hails from Madison, Wisconsin. He's been in the House of Representatives since 2013. He is one of the most progressive members of the U.S. Congress. He's also the labor go-to guy, they tell me. That really labor depends on you a lot. You take a great stand, an important stand for labor in Congress. And I hope that all of you who are watching can see that this is what it looks like to actually be someone in the House of Representatives working on these issues every single day. Keep your eye on him. He does not have a primary opponent, but he's still a very, very important congressman to keep your eye on. Check out his website and keep your eye on this one because he's a leader. And I have found in this interview, as I've always found watching the congressman, he has an ear open. He wants to hear what we have to say. And I also think it's extremely important that we hear what he has to say. Congressman, thank you very, very much for being with us on the Progressive Online Summit. And I wish you the very, very best. I'm so glad that you're where you are.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you doing this.
God bless you.
Thank you.
So that's it. I hope that you enjoyed this episode of our online summit, and I hope that you will be with us next time because we have a whole lot more people to introduce you to.